Alright, so we're going to split up Chapter 9 into two sections. Alright, so Chapter 9 talks about sampling distributions, and one way that you can think about this is that you have two things. One thing is called a parameter, and the other one is a statistic. A parameter is a number that describes the population, whereas a statistic is a number that can be computed from sample data. That's just a kind of heads up for the two videos that I'm going to post. First off, that we can talk about is the population proportion, which I think you guys remember previously going over, and that is simply used to estimate the unknown parameter p that we're trying to solve. Moving on, I'm just going to go over the most important things for the AP exam is things that we have to know actually are the sampling distribution of a statistic is basically the distribution of all the values taken from the statistic in all possible samples of the same size of the same population. Most of the stuff can be found in your textbook if you don't understand most of it, and there's also practice problems in the textbook that you can go over. Two things that the AP does cover, on the other hand, is bias and variability. The bias of a statistic is essentially, it's basically a parameter that is unbiased if the mean of its sampling distribution is equal to the true value of the parameter being estimated, and the statistic is called an unbiased estimator of the parameter. Bias is essentially how far away from the center it really is. Variability, on the other hand, is described by the spread of the sampling distribution, so whether or not all the values are tight or closed together, or if they're spread apart. What you see here are four different cases for bias and variability. The top two and the left one on the bottom, they're the cases that are not ideal. This one, on the other hand, here is the most ideal case where you have low bias and low variability. You don't want high bias because that doesn't accurately portray your population, and you don't want low variability because that, again, doesn't portray your population that well. That's essentially all you have to know from basically the English part or the memorizing part from the chapter, and the next video I'm going to post is going to cover the actual mathematics required in this section.